and this is where it's gonna get a little bit more personal, I could feel myself at moments get really jealous of him. I'm gonna kind of talk about how it was on my side of things, and then you can kind of respond and stuff. I had went from being pregnant for 9 months, giving birth. I'm fortunate to have a really good partner that in those weeks, like, he would let me sleep when I could sleep. He would take care of Clara. I was making sure I was pumping so that we had bottles. I wanted to make sure she knew how to take a bottle right away, just in case, let's say, the breastfeeding didn't work out for me. Also allowed me to sleep. So he, as a dad, was really good. It was really hard to not have him around anymore. I was fortunate though to have family really kind of gather around me at home. I stayed with my mom and my dad. They were great. You know, I went and visited his mom, his family. I didn't really leave a lot though. Like when I was in Iowa, I didn't go anywhere. And I know, and this is where it's gonna get a little bit more personal, I could feel myself at moments get really jealous of him. Because he was out here sending me pictures of these fancy hotels with this fancy meal, and you know, he was drinking with his buddies, and I'm over here with a baby at 2 o'clock in the morning who hasn't stopped crying for 5 hours. And for me, that's where the resentment started coming in. I don't know, did you ever resent me?
No.
I think
No.
But I know that for military spouses, normally the ones who stay home are the ones that grow the resentment. And I could feel that growing in me, and I would talk to him my frustrations and stuff. And it was hard because he'd be out spending money, drinking. Guam, we fought a lot with Guam because someone spent a lot of money when he shouldn't have.
Guam was a fun place.
And I'm at home with a baby, not leaving little Podunk, Iowa for anything, pretty much. Like, I was being a mom, staying at home with my child, and that's, I think, the hardest part, one of the hardest parts of deployment. I can't say it's the hardest for me, for sure. Now, how did my feelings of resentment affect you?
I just thought you were really irritable. It pissed me off, to be honest with you.
Now looking back though, like, do you think like you can understand it maybe a little bit more, especially maybe being around Clara?
I can understand it, but I don't justify it, you know?
Okay.
I mean, I'm just being honest.
Yeah, no,
So like, when you go out on deployment like that, you want to be able to experience things without feeling like you're gonna be stepping on someone else's toes. Mm-hmm. And so towards the end of deployment, she did a really good job of, you know, she was obviously getting resentful and getting a little bit jealous because, yeah, she's stuck at home with a baby, and here I am staying in 4- or 5-star hotels, eating great meals and spending money and seeing things and having a lot of fun. But like, I think she forgot that I would have much rather be home with her and Clara rather than be out there doing all that stuff. And towards the end of deployment, her and I communicated a lot better than, you know, towards the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think a hard time though too is that we're still figuring out our ways of communication. And Garrett, I love you, but you have a hard time doing this. It is kind of sacrificing like what you want to do for other people's needs. So my need was, I needed the communication when he could, or like I needed him to act like he wanted to talk to me, even if he didn't want to talk to me. Like, I just needed to feel loved, and I really felt a lack of at moments, because when he gets very cold and very, did you just toot?
Yeah.
He gets really cold when he doesn't want to talk to, like, on FaceTime and stuff. And so then it made me feel like I wasn't wanted, and then that's when the resentment would grow too. Like, it wasn't, I was just resenting him because he was doing all this. It was because, like, I felt like he was doing it. He didn't want me around. He didn't want me to be involved in anything. And I definitely felt like my feelings were hurt a lot with deployment.
Yeah.
And
it's easy when you're on deployment to compartmentalize a lot of the different things. Like, this is my deployment life, this is my work life, this is my gym life, and this is my relationship life. And I tend to compartmentalize a lot more than anything else. And when I'm on deployment, I tend to just stick in that little deployment compartment and don't really venture out into anything else. And so that's something to work on for deployment number 2, because I have a set deployment schedule.
yeah, I think the worst part was just waiting for deployment to get here too. I think like that last month before, well, especially since I was pregnant, I was hormonal anyways, but it was just like the countdown to the days, like that's very emotional and frustrating. I cried a lot. Obviously, I cry a lot, apparently.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
But I think what we really learned, though, what I learned from this deployment is when it came to the resentment feelings, to talk to him about it. And there would be moments where I'd talk to him about it and he would be able to communicate with me the way I've been like begging him to communicate with me for months. And near the end, it definitely got better with the communication. And I think he knows that for future deployments, that's what he really needs to work on. So like we both have our things that I'm like, okay, now we know, like after we got home, we kind of had to talk about how deployment went for both of us. And I really think that helps us, will help us in the next one.
Yeah, for me, it was rationalizing taking that 30 to 45 minutes out of, my morning period and my night period that just makes her happy. I didn't want to do it because I wanted to do what I wanted.
It didn't have to be 30 minutes. Like, no. Like, I understand in his mornings, like 5 minutes is fine, great, whatever. It was at nighttime when I know he was up watching movies and playing video games and shit, and he would rather do that than give me 30 minutes of time.
Well, I like to, I'm okay with being on the phone, just existing together, and she wants to have conversation.
Yeah, well then there's no point on being on a phone if there's literally nothing you're looking at and nothing you're talking about.
Well, it's just existing together.
Oh, that's not, we exist together then without any type of communication.
Yeah, sometimes just hanging out and not hearing you speak is my preferred, I'm just kidding, I wouldn't actually mean that.
He's really a good guy, I promise. He's just a complete smart ass.
Yeah.
I love him, I do.
She has to convince herself of that.
Oh, sometimes. No, well, and another thing I wanted to bring up though was one of the other hard parts for me was the news.
Yeah, the news is, when you're on deployment, don't listen to the news, okay? They don't know anything compared to what your service member knows. They're all idiots. They have no idea what they're talking about.
They just want the drama.
They want the drama and they want to create a narrative. If you have someone who's in the service and you hear that, Iran, perfect example, Iran shot down that drone when my squadron was flying off the coast of Iran. And if you listen to the news and you listen to the lamestream media that find the need to politicize everything, you'd think we're going into World War III, when in all actuality, it was fine. I was never put in danger other than flying, which is inherently dangerous.
Was it the bombs in?
And then Iran sent bombs to,
yeah.
I think it was into Iraq or Afghanistan, I can't remember. But
that all happened during your deployment.
Fact of the matter is, you have to talk to your service member. You can't listen to the news because the news don't care who they're hurting because they're pushing these false narratives and these false stories.
And obviously your service member's not going to be able to tell you exactly what's going on. You kind of just have to accept that when they say, it's going to be all right, it's fine, accept those words. Because there's a lot of things that you can't tell us because it's secret, or you just really get kind of the beat around the bush, but you kind of know okay, it's gonna be okay, for sure. So that's another thing. And then, what was the other thing I did? It just popped into my head. Oh, so this is the last thing I kind of want to bring up, was the 60-day extension.
Yeah, you found out about it before I did.
Yeah. That was, I think, the most angry I have ever felt.
Not towards me.
Not towards him, but the most angry I felt towards our government and news outlets. I don't know. Obviously,
well, they'll do anything to make a dollar. They'll do anything to make a dollar and create a narrative. So they see that, the United States is in trouble, that they see that service members are being extended overseas and it's affecting their families, and they feel the need to push this to create some false kind of situation that doesn't really exist. So they posted this thing that, I mean, she found out about my 60-day extension before I did because it hit CNN.
It was, what, 2 o'clock in the morning his time, and
Yeah.
I get a phone call from a friend saying, did you just hear the news?
Yeah, and you called me, and I woke up, and I told you not to worry about it. And then as soon as I woke up, there's a text from my CO saying, yeah, we're getting extended.
Pretty much, I'm getting like the run around with a bunch of like friends and news outlets. I'm trying to like find the news and stuff. I can't find it all over Facebook yet. It was literally like 5 minutes after the thing played that my friend called me because her husband's was part of Garrett's squadron, and I just remember telling her, calm down, like, don't stress. I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen any talk about it on the Navy Wives page because I'm on a bunch of different pages on Facebook. But sure enough, they literally no warning whatsoever.
You're going to be throwing curveballs the entire deployment. You're going to be coming home this day, then you're going to be extended. Then you're going to be coming home this day, and then all of a sudden, like the way it happened to me.
There's no such thing as
the way it happened to me, I was coming home one day. It got extended 60 days. I thought maybe I could have come home 2 weeks later, and then all of a sudden I'm not coming home till June, and then 3 days before, 3 days before March 15th, all of a sudden, hey, you need to pack your bags, you're going home.
Yeah.
So like they don't know anything, okay?
No.
And so your service member isn't gonna know anything.
Yeah, so you really have to be patient. Like, I was never mad at Garrett, but I was very frustrated with the situation. I would vent to Garrett a lot because I'd be like, this is very frustrating. Like, any type of knowledge at this point would be good. And I mean, when he literally told me like, oh yeah, apparently I'm gonna be leaving in like 3 days, I didn't believe it.
Yeah, I actually had to convince her. It's like, no, I'm definitely coming home.
There had been so many moments where he might have been able to come home that, like, when we got this one, I was like, no, because I was just traveling back down to Florida at that, like, 2 days before that date you were supposed to arrive.
Well, the whole squadron didn't know what was going on because, like, when I'm talking about the military has no idea what's going on, it's not the military on a small level. So, like, the senior enlisted, the junior officers, the senior officers, your CO, your XO, they don't know what's going on because it's the big government, like the big Navy and the Department of Defense that just, it's a shit show. No one knows what's going on. So we get the brunt of that.
Yeah. So, well, that's kind of like most of the things I really thought about covering on all this. It was definitely a interesting experience for both of us, I'd say. It had its good times, it had its bad times. So yeah, I think the hardest part was him not being around for Clara. That was really hard.
Wasn't great for me.
No. I think that emotionally affected us both, for sure. Especially when it came to holidays. Holidays was really tough for me for some reason. He missed Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's, my birthday, Mother's Day. He wasn't here for Mother's Day. And I'm still waiting on my birthday gift and / Mother's Day gift.
They're in the mail from Japan. Please like and subscribe, and you'll see more of my face, because that's what makes it great.
Just what he said. All right, have a nice day. Bye.